The family dinner was going exactly as expected. Dad complained about the market while Mom refilled wine glasses, and my brother Kevin bragged about his latest promotion at Goldman Sachs. Just another Sunday at the Anderson household. Another rough quarter, Dad sighed, cutting into his roast beef. Thank God we kept our money in traditional investments. Right, Kevin? Kevin nodded smugly. Blue chip stocks, municipal bonds, the safe way to grow wealth. He turned to me. Unlike some people's alternative investments. I took a sip of water, thinking about the email I'd received that morning from my lawyers. Tomorrow would change everything, but for now I let them talk. I still can't believe you threw away your inheritance like that, Rachel, Mom chimed in. Your grandfather worked so hard to leave each of you something. Yes, the inheritance. 5 years ago, Grandpa Joe had left each grandchild $100,000. Kevin had immediately invested in a portfolio of safe stocks. My cousin Sarah bought a house. And I. Cryptocurrency and tech startups. Dad shook his head. Might as well have flushed it down the toilet. They only knew. That $100,000 had been seed money for Anderson Innovation Fund, my private investment firm specializing in emerging technologies and digital assets. While they'd mocked my risky choices, I'd built something revolutionary. How's that Bitcoin working out for you? Kevin smirked. Still worth anything? I checked my phone discreetly. The final paperwork for tomorrow's IPO had just been confirmed. Anderson Innovation Fund was about to go public with an initial valuation of $2 billion. It's doing fine, I said quietly. Actually, I wanted to talk to you all about Dash. Did I tell you about my new office? Kevin interrupted. Corner suite, executive floor. Dad, you should come see it. That's wonderful, son, Dad beamed. This is how you build real wealth. Steady, responsible choices. My phone buzzed again. A message from my CFO. CNBC wants to interview you tomorrow after the opening bell. Rachel, Mom touched my arm. Have you thought about letting Kevin manage your money? What's left of it anyway? He could help you invest more, appropriately. I almost laughed at the irony. Kevin managed a $50 million portfolio at Goldman. My fund had recently closed a $400 million position in a quantum computing startup. Thanks, but I'm okay with my current investment strategy. Current strategy? Kevin scoffed. Last I heard you were working out of that tiny office downtown playing with computer money. That tiny office was actually just our temporary space while our new headquarters was being finished. 50 stories of prime Manhattan real estate, with Anderson Innovation Fund emblazoned across the top. About that, I started, but Dad cut in. Your grandfather would be so disappointed, he said heavily. He wanted that money to give you a future, not fund some tech fantasy. I thought about Grandpa Joe, who'd built his fortune by investing in early computing companies when everyone said he was crazy. Who told me before he died, the future belongs to those brave enough to see it coming. Actually, I said, pulling out my laptop, I wanted to show you something, Dash. Oh honey, not another one of your cryptocurrency presentations, Mom sighed. Kevin, tell your sister about proper investing. Kevin launched into a lecture about market fundamentals, but I wasn't listening. My screen showed the pre-market trading data for tomorrow's IPO. The institutional investors were already lined up. Soon they'd all know. The daughter they thought had wasted her inheritance had turned it into one of the fastest-growing investment funds in the country. But for now, I let them talk about real investing while I picked at my roast beef, thinking about tomorrow's opening bell. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served with dinner. It's served on the stock market. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of my temporary office as I watched the pre-market numbers climb. CNBC played silently on the wall screen, the ticker counting down to the opening bell. In 30 minutes, Anderson Innovation Fund (AIF) would start trading. My phone buzzed, a text from Kevin. Family breakfast at the club? Dad wants to lecture you about responsible investing again. Before I could respond, my assistant Sarah rushed in. The Wall Street Journal article just dropped. I pulled up the headline, Tech Investment Prodigy Takes Fund Public. Anderson Innovation Fund expected to be largest IPO of the year. Your family still doesn't know? Sarah asked, arranging the documents for the opening bell ceremony. They're about to find out. My phone rang, Mom this time. Rachel honey, please come to breakfast. Your father's worried about your financial future. I smiled, watching the growing crowd of reporters gathering outside our building. Actually, Mom, could you all meet me somewhere else? Turn on CNBC. What? Why would we dash? Just trust me. One time. I hung up as my CFO entered with the final numbers. Pre-market trading is insane. We might open above $200 per share. The elevator dinged and my legal team arrived with the ceremonial opening bell. Everything was ready. My phone exploded with notifications. The family group chat. Kevin, why is Rachel's picture on CNBC? Mom, what's Anderson Innovation Fund? Dad, someone explain what's happening. I typed back, watch and see. The CNBC anchor's voice filled the room as Sarah turned up the volume. In what's being called the investment story of the year, Anderson Innovation Fund goes public today. Founded by 28-year-old Rachel Anderson with an initial investment of just $100,000, AIF has become a powerhouse in emerging technology investments. My phone rang again. Kevin. I put it on speaker. Rachel. His voice shook. Please tell me this is a different Anderson fund. Remember that computer money you laughed at? I replied. It just made me a billionaire. The anchor continued. With investments in cryptocurrency, quantum computing and artificial intelligence, AIF has shown returns of over 1,000% in the past 3 years alone. Another call, Dad this time. Rachel Elizabeth Anderson, what is going on? The inheritance you thought I wasted? I said calmly. I turned it into a $2 billion fund. The opening bell ceremony is in 15 minutes. You might want to hurry. I could hear Mom crying in the background as Dad sputtered, 2 billion? Actually, my CFO whispered, showing me the latest numbers, closer to 3 billion now. The elevator opened again and there they were, Mom, Dad and Kevin looking shell-shocked in their breakfast clothes. They stared at the bustling office, the wall of screens showing AIF's logo, the reporters setting up cameras. Welcome to Anderson Innovation Fund, I said softly. Would you like a tour before the bell? All this time, Kevin whispered, while we were mocking your investments. You were building an empire, Dad finished, his face pale. Mom stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Rachel, why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened? I asked. Or would you have just told me again how I was wasting Grandpa's money? The CNBC anchor's voice cut through the tension. We're live in 5 minutes with Rachel Anderson, the new face of modern investing. You should all take your seats, Sarah suggested, gesturing to the front row. The ceremony's about to begin. As my family sat down, still dazed, I straightened my jacket and checked the markets one last time. Kevin leaned forward, his voice hoarse. Rachel, all those times I lectured you about investing. Save it, I said, picking up the ceremonial bell. We're about to find out who really understands the market. The cameras turned on and the countdown began. 5 years of work, of being dismissed and underestimated, had led to this moment. The trading floor erupted in chaos as AIF shares soared past $250 in the first hour. My family sat frozen in the executive viewing room, watching the numbers climb on the massive wall screens. $265 per share, Kevin muttered, frantically calculating on his phone. That means your company is worth more than the GDP of several small countries, I finished for him. Pass the coffee. Mom hadn't touched her cup, her hands shaking as she watched the CNBC replay of my opening bell ceremony. On screen, I looked confident, polished, nothing like the foolish daughter they'd lectured at Sunday dinners. Your grandfather, Dad said suddenly, his voice rough. He knew, didn't he? I smiled, remembering my last conversation with Grandpa Joe. He was my first advisor. That inheritance wasn't random. He knew exactly what I planned to do with it. But the crypto investments, the tech startups. Kevin's voice trailed off. Were all carefully researched and strategically chosen, I explained. While you were bragging about your 8% annual returns, I was seeing 1,000% gains on early-stage investments. The door opened and Sarah rushed in with more numbers. We just crossed $275. The market can't get enough of AIF shares. Mom finally found her voice. All those times we worried about you, tried to make you invest properly. I was building something revolutionary, I said softly. But you were all too busy following the old rules to see the new game. The screens flashed with breaking news. Anderson Innovation Fund CEO becomes one of youngest self-made billionaires. Billionaire, Kevin whispered. My little sister is a billionaire. Dad stood up abruptly, walking to the window that overlooked the trading floor. I was wrong, he said, his back to us. We were all wrong about you, Rachel. Yes, I agreed simply. You were. But why keep it secret? Mom asked. All these years. Because I needed to do this my way, I explained. Without your doubts, without Kevin's condescension, without the family's helpful advice. Sarah appeared again. Rachel, Bloomberg wants an interview. And the new headquarters architects are here with the final designs. I nodded, standing up. Show them to the conference room. I'll be there in a minute. New headquarters? Kevin asked. 50 stories, Central Park views. I smiled. That tiny office downtown was just temporary. Dad turned back from the window, tears in his eyes. Your grandfather would be so proud. He was proud, I corrected gently. He saw what I could build before anyone else did. He understood that sometimes the biggest returns come from believing in someone everyone else doubts. The screens flashed again. AF had crossed $300 per share. The wasted inheritance had multiplied beyond anyone's wildest expectations. So, Kevin said, attempting a smile, about that investment advice I tried to give you. Actually, I picked up my tablet. I have some meetings with potential investors. But if you're interested, AIF is always looking for talented analysts. Starting positions begin at entry level, of course. His face reddened as the meaning sank in. The brother who'd lectured me about finance would now have to apply for a junior position at my company. I should go, I said, gathering my things. Sarah will show you out. Oh, and Mom? Dad? Sunday dinner this week will be at my place. The view from the penthouse is spectacular. As I walked toward the conference room, I heard Mom whisper, our daughter, a billionaire. No, Dad corrected quietly. Our daughter, a visionary. I smiled, thinking of Grandpa Joe's last words to me. Show them what you see, Rachel. Show them the future. Well, Grandpa, I thought, watching my family stare at the billions flowing across the screens. I finally showed them. Sometimes the greatest investment isn't in stocks or bonds. It's in believing in yourself when no one else will.